You would have
Yeah.
to have a video input, you probably know about that. That goes into the software.
Yeah.
Has a place for
to-
photos.
To provide a photo, you know, so that, and then they can be scanned, you know, and put into a system. And remember that's what I mentioned to you, that law enforcement here really recommends that all the churches have photo IDs of the kids, because that is such a high vulnerable area, so photo IDs.
So what happens is when you have a missing child, you know, if you go for a missing child report as a police officer or an abduction, the first thing they want to see is a picture of that kid. That goes on the report, because that then is used for the information that's then disseminated to whomever else, other police officers, other agencies and things like that. They always want a picture of the child. So it's important.
Probably they most want one that's recent.
Mhm.
So would they want to take a picture every Sunday morning with the clothes that they're wearing?
No.
Or just describe what they're, okay.
No, you describe what they're wearing, but they want a picture. You know, children change. I mean, if you have a picture once a year,
Yeah, once a year,
I
at
mean-
the beginning of Sunday school class, you know, before they go off to their Sunday school classes, at the beginning in the fall would be just a good time that we just
Yeah.
do that repeatedly, you know, and have those on file.
because remember, it's happening right now, so you want to get that initial picture out. And suppose the kid does look a little bit different, well, then the parent can always bring a photo in, but that may take hours. Well, you can't wait hours.
Well, the kid check-in system we have now does do photos of the children and the guardian.
Good.
So it's just a matter of but it's not required that you put it in. So what we can do as a church is make it a requirement, you know. But it is, the technology is there. So we just have to.
So maybe you could, that would be something you could write in. And so now I'd like you to ask some questions of Paul, because, you know, as he's, you know, he can summarize for you like our resources, our organizational capacity, as well as the security plan, and which includes the overall risk assessment. So, you know, that's a lot of stuff. And so if you got some questions for him, I think this would be a good time, you know, to ask him. Yeah.
So if a child is thought to be missing at 10:45 a.m. on Sunday morning, what would be the first thing that would happen when that's raised?
Well, the first thing that happens is you have to notify the pastor or someone of authority, which would then go to the security team. And so initially what you start doing is you start a search for this kid, get a description of the child, who it is, when they were last seen, any other information that you have, and then you start searching. And you do a systematic search throughout the church. And what we used to do when we would search buildings, we would close doors behind us. We want everybody to stay where they're at. We don't want a lot of movement going on if it's possible, and start going through and do a systematic search. At some point in time, if you're not finding that child, little time's gone by, you'll drop a phone call to the police. Tell them we have a missing child. Yes?
I'm sorry.
And thing remember too, it's not necessarily an emergency. If it is, you call 911. But no, too, if you call 911 from a cell phone, the cell phone doesn't tell you you're at 4000 North 4th Street. It'll give a general location, so you have to give your location. Where if you pick up a phone from one of the office phones, it'll give the church's location here.
Would you also require to appoint somebody, say we have a missing child, would you appoint somebody to stand at each door in case somebody slips out with the child?
Yeah, what you do, you don't lock down the facility. As I mentioned, it's not a lockdown.
Right.
Okay, because people can go, but what you want to really do to make things easier is you want to tell people, hey, we're looking for a child, and do a systematic, however it is, if it's real busy here or not. You want to make sure that child doesn't walk out.
Every door covered?
You would do that. You also have to go around the facility here
Well, yeah.
and start looking. And we have video camera. And so
An hour.
it takes an hour?
An hour before I can go back and look.
Yeah, see, that we have to fix that then. That it needs to be immediate.
System.
It has to be immediate.
Yeah, well then.
There's an hour delay.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not good.
Goodness.
Yeah, that's news.
Well, that's just a different recording. So you can have cameras.
Do you need
Sure.
to
Yeah,
write
sure.
down some of those things?
No, we'll find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What about something like fingerprinting? I know Kootenai County, I don't know if they still do that, but they did it year after year for kids, you could take the kids to the fire department or somewhere and have them fingerprinted. I don't hear too much about it anymore, but,
Yeah, that was a service that they've done even nationwide where I was at. They did that kind of thing for children. Again, it's good to a point. When a child goes missing, taking immediate action, I mean, starting to go along. And the search is the important part. Again, we're talking about a non-emergency. If there's a missing child, but there's some sort of actions that have happened that lead us to believe this might not be missing, well, then you got to get the police here now. You got to call 911. You don't have time to, you'll still search and do the best that you can until the police get here, but you need to get them here immediately. Most kids are found. They're just not where they thought they were.
We had a scenario here where it was right before the children's situation started on Wednesday night. They were just all getting there, and the mom left, and all of a sudden we realized we couldn't find the child. 7-year-old, you probably knew who I'm talking about. And
I do now.
So, of course, we had her cell phone number, so she was being called while we were running around the church, seeing if he was running around somewhere. If we had not found, of course, she said, "I've got him with me," and she forgot to tell us that she took him. So, let's say she said, "I don't have him with me, I don't know where he is." What's the next step?
Right then and there, if what kind of time? You talking a few minutes? You
So say
talking a half hour?
We looked for him for 5 minutes, we couldn't find him. 10 minutes, we couldn't find him.
What I would have done is I would get everybody together and says, okay, what is it that we actually did? And did we actually do a good search? And then find out, has anybody seen him? Where was the last time we saw him? Where might he go? Is there a place where he might go around here? And start that. And then after a certain point in time, if he's not found, get in contact with the parent again. Then it would be, hey, we need to call the police. They need to come over because we can't find him. And then we keep searching. While the police are responding, we keep searching. But the problem that happens is usually the coordinated search isn't very good. You miss stuff out. And so that's what I would do.
So you mentioned Quest, and it kind of brings me to a thought. So Quest is actually a ministry of the church, right? It's a ministry of the church, by the church, but it's an outreach. So there are a lot of kids that come to Quest that are not necessarily church attenders, correct? Is that correct?
Very
Paul?
few of them attend here, probably 10.
Okay, and so since it's a ministry of the church, and you now have a security plan, is the Quest informed of that security plan? I mean, I realize you haven't taken it to the board yet for final, approval, but assuming that you did, have they been informed of that security plan, and are they abiding by the security plan as it's been established then?
Yes, we gave each of the counselors that were at their meeting have our plan for a missing child, an abduction, and an evacuation and or lockdown. They were given those plans, and we reviewed it with them, so they have an understanding now of what to do, and they also have a copy of it with them. So they have a folder, I believe, and in that has our plans.
And have they practiced anything, Paul? Since this is the first year, you've probably done it quite like this, so have they practiced that, the security plan, the security?
You mean with children here, or what do you mean?
Yeah, well, just like, in a school you'd have a fire drill, have they done any kind of practice with this?
You mean like a lockdown, or
Well,
where to go if there was a fire?
Yeah,
or what?
whatever.
Austin, when he said he was going to do, so Quest is essentially renting the facility, correct? Or they're kind of.
It's through the church. It's a 10-week program,
Yeah.
but it's ran by church people.
Right, but they have their own check-in procedure. They're coming up with their own plan, like, emergency plan, and Austin, who was kind of taking the lead, I believe, director, was going to do some games that kind of what made it fun, they're gonna evacuate to the fields and so
Good.
forth. Like, so that was his, what he was talking about doing, after you had that initial meeting with all of them, it sounded like.
We had that meeting
Yeah.
where he was here for a security team meeting, then I met with him on, I think it was a Saturday morning for 45 minutes or so, an hour.
But what we were
So-
talking about doing is coming, once the board approves this, is that when someone uses a facility, that they sign off on the safety
Right.
security, that they've read it. Whether they read it or not, we can't, but that they at least signed off on that, so
Well-
that, they know, they're aware of that there is a plan and
Well,
contact.
they should abide by the security plan, when they sign their name on it, that's what they are committing to do.
And Austin was he asked a lot of questions and you gotta keep in mind, you got 175 kids registered, right? So we
Well,
said-
the most we've had here at a time so far, yeah, but
But
they don't
90
all come at once. We
90 or about
got
here,
91
so-
one day. and
Yeah. 100
70
kids.
usually,
That's a
got
lot of
80
kids.
today.
That's a lot of kids to be responsible for.
It is.
And how many adults are there?
7 counselors, plus me, could call it 8.
So
If
the
they're all there.
ratio, oh, so you don't even have a 10-to-1 ratio, do you?
Yeah, we have a 10-to-1.
You have a 10-to-1? And so, what would be an interesting thing to do, is if he's gonna do some fun things, is to see if there's some way during Quest that some of that could be videotaped of the kids doing whatever, these exercises are. And so that's something that we can use with the congregation, so that they see, well, the kids were doing this, and so now we're gonna do this, you know what I mean? So I don't know, Paul, is there any way that you could do that, as when they do the fun activities that Austin has in
We got a
mind?
couple of our counselors assigned to be photographers, but I don't know what kind of equipment they have. I don't
Well,
think
even
have
if
any
they
video.
just use their phone.
Yeah.
They just use their
And
phone.
did a
Okay,
video.
they can do that.
Yeah.
On their iPhone.
Just have them do something like that, something spontaneous, it's good.
If Austin does the game, just grab some phone, everybody take some phones.
Because you probably, at the end, Quest, you probably have some highlights of Quest.
They do, and they do films,
Yeah.
and, you see little clips.
See,
of
and that would be
things that
really
are going
good,
on.
so, and because the reason why that is it's
Somebody
not
should
just
be able
only, is to be able to give parents the assurance, that this is being done well, that it's just, remember how we said this has got to be a safe place? It's got to be seen as a safe place. And it is only seen that way is if we do this job well. It doesn't just happen, it's not a spontaneous occurrence that we emanate that this is a safe place. It does so by intentionality. And so I think it'd be really good if you could have them do some videos or something like that could be thrown in to the highlight of it, because it's saying this is important to us, parents. Because you probably have parents come, don't you, at the end and see the highlights of what their kids have been doing.
They have a, I think what they did last year, I think they did have a Sunday, and you get a few parents, but some of them go to their own churches, some of them wouldn't go near a church or whatever. But a lot of them come, bring their kids to this camp specifically for the Christian influence.
Well, and see, so we want to do that well, don't we? We want
Yes.
them to, feel that they are safe here. Doesn't mean to say that we're not going to make mistakes, but we want to assure parents that we're doing our part. So if you could kind of weave that in, I think that would be good
Just to
for
back
future.
up too on your missing child, the code Adam is what the process that I think you're adopting, right?
Right. Yeah, that you had down there.
Code Adam, so. do you
Yeah, that's
remember-
what I was asking about the doors.
And back to the kids in Quest,
Yeah,
it's
you won't lock
amazing
them.
what kids remember too. If they're shown something, especially if Austin is doing it that way where he makes it fun, where
Yeah.
these kids remember, that little girl in Florida that got attacked by an alligator, and she remembered something that she'd been
Yes,
shown,
right.
you
Punch him
know,
in the
I mean,
nose. That's
it's
punched in the
amazing
nose.
what they remember.
Yeah.
And so if they're,
Yeah,
yeah,
because
saved
she'd-
her own
because
life.
she'd
Run
seen
like
it,
it.
she'd seen
Yeah.
that happen, and so she punched him in the nose and let her go.
They
Yeah.
trained them at
Really?
Gatorland, that's what they told them to
Really?
do if they
Yeah.
were ever attacked. And the little girl, I think she was 7,
Uh-huh.
remembered that.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, that was on the
Yeah.
news just within the
Yeah.
last month.
I just wanna live
So who would take responsibility then ultimately for Quest following the security plan that has been adopted by the church?
Doesn't work on grizzly bears, though.
Probably Paul.
Well,
Well-
He's the leader of
if
the
we're
Quest.
tied into the church's plan, then I guess it's it's SDMI working with your security. And you'll have to tell me.
So,
Ultimately, who it falls on is the leader of security.
okay, so Paul, what would be really good is once that gets approved by the board, is to, go through it and review it with all of the leads that they would take that responsibility to follow it.
Well, I would even take it for this church has not had a security, you name it. Anything after security, they don't have. It would be imperative for this church to have a meeting with the church to tell them what it is that we have, what we're doing, so they understand and actually go through the stuff. I mean, I think it's...
That is where I'm headed with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
But what I would
yeah.
just suggest, though, as soon as that gets approved by the board, that you
Right.
meet with some of the leaders so they know first before the rest of the congregation. That's what we're doing here. You realize what we're doing here is we're building up the church emergency team, the creme de la creme here of leadership, so that you can help to lead the rest of the herd. So that's always the way. You start with a few. They're going to be the leaders. They're going to be the models of adopting the security plan. They understand it. They're going to practice it, and then they are going to model it for others in the congregation. So that's why I think the Austin Fun thing would be good, because it'll help build the congregation doing something similar. So, okay, so this is good. This is really good. We've gone a few minutes